Hi, I'm Nicholas, and I'm the production manager on WECU's real estate team. This is the WECU Real Estate Market Update. In today's episode, we will update you on what's been happening in the real estate market over the last few months and where we stand today. Then we'll move into a segment we're calling Ask the Expert. We'll hear from Antoni, a plant and garden expert from My Garden Nursery in Bellingham, and he'll provide gardening and landscaping tips for homeowners. It's going to be a great episode. Here we go. First up is our market snapshot. In the last two episodes, the story was the market is hot, inventory is low, and home prices are continuing to rise. Well, this remains true with homes in the $250,000 to $1 million range, and that's extreme frenzy category for sales intensity. Whatcom County homes are virtually sold out. The National Association of Realtors says home prices rose 23.6% from May of 2020 to May of 2021. Median days on the market, an indicator that shows how quickly homes are selling, is at its lowest point for all of our local cities going back the last decade. Much of this is driven by low interest rates, which are still hovering around 3%, and low inventory. Many home buyers are waiting it out, hoping to see prices decrease in the fall and winter months with less competition, or for interest rates to rise. We typically do see competition decrease as we get out of the summer months. We do expect home prices to remain high until there's a significant change to interest rates, which isn't really expected until 2022. The challenge of finding a way to get into a home can be a big challenge for a home buyer who isn't coming to the table with equity from their previous property. And many home buyers aren't aware of all the loan options that are available to them. So let's take a moment to talk about a couple of options. One loan product that tends to be widely discussed is an FHA loan, or Federal Housing Administration loan. FHA loans allow for lower credit scores, as low as 500, and allow you to put as little as 3.5% down. This, however, isn't the only game in town. Fannie Mae, the Federal National Mortgage Association, and Freddie Mac, also known as Federal Home Loan Mortgage Corporation, have a program designed to help a wide range of borrowers purchase or refinance their primary residences. This loan is called Home Ready. FHA and Home Ready are both products that can be used for first-time home buyers who are purchasing their primary residence. As compared to FHA, Home Ready allows borrowers to put as little as 3% down and allows more fund sources. While it does have a slightly higher requirement for credit score with a minimum of 620 to qualify, it offers some flexibility that FHA just can't. With an FHA loan, the MI is built into the overall cost of the loan and requires you to refinance out of the FHA to eliminate your MI. With Home Ready, it allows you to cancel your MI once the loan meets certain criteria and falls below the typical 80% threshold, potentially reducing your overall payment. Another big benefit that I'd like to highlight is that Home Ready provides options to include non-occupant borrowers or border income to help support your monthly income. In other words, if you're renting right now and you receive a check from your roommate every month for at least 9 of the last 12 months, you may be able to pay rent and support your income when you're purchasing that new home. Now, it's important to note that these are just a few of the features of these loans, so to make sure you speak with a loan officer really to discuss your options. These could be great solutions for some first-time home buyers, and our loan officers are happy to explore either of these options with you. And that's all we have for the WECU Real Estate Market Update. Now we have Ask the Expert segment with Antoni from My Garden Nursery in Bellingham, where he'll provide gardening, landscaping tips for homeowners. But before that, we'll take a short break.
So, you work with a lender to get a mortgage. You get into your new home and you receive notice that your mortgage company has broken up with you and you'll be sending your payments somewhere else. You deserve a partner who will be there with you every step of the way. At WECU, we service 100% of our loans. Plus, we're not for profit, so you can rest assured knowing that we'll always have your best interest at heart.
All right, we're back. Now we're going to move into a segment we call Ask the Expert. In this segment, we'll hear from Antoni from My Garden Nursery in Bellingham.
Hey everybody, my name is Antoni. I'm here at My Garden Nursery, and this is Ask the Expert. So here at My Garden, we're at 929 East Bakerview Highway. We are a full-service nursery. Here you're going to not just find some of the most remarkable plants being kept to the highest standards, but you're also going to get some great advice on how to use them and the proper ways to plant plants. That way we can set you up to succeed. I want to kind of share with you a few tips that I think every homeowner could possibly take and use in their own gardens. My very first tip that I use to qualify my customers is finding out what kind of sun do they have. You would be surprised how many people have just not paid attention to that. When you're at My Garden Nursery, we have our nursery set up a little bit differently. If you ever wonder what any of this material takes, in addition to having botanical signs that will give you a hint, also look up. We try to put everything exactly where you need to put it in your garden. Full sun right now is probably one of the most exciting aspects because we have a large contingency of plants. Not the least of which, Lygostromia indica. You're going to know this as crepe myrtle, and anybody from the south, we all know these plants. But the truly exciting part is we have a whole section of them now bred specifically for the Pacific Northwest. These are guaranteed to bloom much earlier than their counterparts that you and I know from the south. We also have things like here, barberries. Barberries are an amazing plant, rich with color. They're just beaming. These guys here not only need full sun, but remember, they need good drainage. They do not want their feet to be kept wet. Another great tip is the right plant for the right place. If we have an area, for instance, that we need something about 5 feet tall, there's no use in buying anything that's going to be 20 feet tall because that's going to condemn you to being taking care of these plants and keeping them cut down when the plant really wants to be a much larger plant. So the next tip I want to give you is something that for whatever reason people are a little reluctant to share with you, but I'm going to share it with you now, and this is going to up your success level exponentially. This is on planting. Planting obviously is going to be one of the biggest things you're going to do. Here's what I want to share with you. When we buy any tree or shrub, or even perennial for that matter, what we're going to want to do is we're going to take this root ball and we're going to bust it up 3 ways to Sunday. But here's the caveat. I'm going to plant it about a ½ an inch above soil grade. Why would I do that, you might be asking yourself. Over the next year, this plant is going to settle right to ground level. If we were to plant this right flush right now, then as this settles, it's going to settle about 1/4 to a ½ an inch. Here's what happens. Right here is the crown of the plant. The crown of this plant is where this plant breathes. When it erodes and soil comes up around it, we end up cutting off its air circulation or its breathability. So what we want to do is we want to plant it to about here, go ahead and let it settle. But remember, the top of the soil that you see in the pot, you should always be able to see that no matter what. Remember, on top of this, no mulch, no compost, and no bark. That is going to increase your success rate by about 80%. All right, for all of you backyard orchards out there, fruit trees have become hugely successful in this neck of the woods. Fruit trees are kind of fun, but now be pre-warned. They're a little bit of work, but if you're willing to put that little bit of work into it, you're going to be richly paid off. Keep in mind that for the first few years that you buy your fruit tree, you're going to definitely want to keep it pruned back every February. We're going to also want to do some dormant oil. And then after it's done flowering, we're going to want to spray pretty regularly with some kind of an organic spray. I'm going to recommend a product called Orchard Spray. It's a pyrethrum and sulfur mix, completely natural. Use it right up to the day of harvest. But that one product definitely eliminates most of your common insects, diseases, and funguses. If you are able to devote the time needed to this, these are going to reward you. So I have a number of customers who have either just moved here or just bought a house. It's always interesting to see when people buy a house that's already been landscaped. When I roll up to their home, I look around and the landscape looks nothing like them, which is of course why I'm there to begin with. So a couple of things I want to share with you on how to create the best landscape for you. The first place that I always start is I always start around the house for foundation planting. I've always told my customers that foundation planting is going to be the least exciting, most expensive, but the most necessary and most important part of your entire landscape. Why, you may ask? Because a good foundation planting can actually up the value of your home. Once we get some great shrubs, evergreen shrubs around our yard, how do we begin actually putting together our garden? Let me put it to you this way. I equate it to a human body. We have bones, tissue, and muscle. When I talk to people about putting together a garden, we're going to first set on one area of the garden. Do not look at your entire garden because you'll become overwhelmed. But what we really want to do is look at one area, and we want to start with bones. Keep in mind that everything is going to hang off of those bones. What am I talking about? Trees. We want trees to begin delineating the area, and that is actually going to begin making points of reference for us. Once we have our trees in, then let's look at muscle. Muscle is what I oftentimes refer to as just pure shrubbery. That's when we get to bring in some color with beautiful flowering shrubs or even some great textures that we can mix together. When I talk about tissue or skin, if you will, that's when we're talking about absolute perennials and that riot of color. It's important that when we really work with those type of elements that we understand when they bloom. I maintain that flower gardens, there should be a rise and a decline to every flower, much like there is in a symphony. So keep in mind that if I've got something blooming in April, I definitely need something coming up for May, and then all the way through. If we plan this correctly, you and I can end up creating the most beautiful garden for yourselves, that there'll be something blooming year-round. So if you can remember all of these, you're going to be all the richer. If you can't remember these, my name is Antoni and I'm with My Garden Nursery, and I would love to see you at some point.
Great tips! That's all we have today. Thanks for joining the WECU Real Estate Market Update. To learn more about WECU and our options for home buyers, visit realestate.wecu.com. We'll see you next time.
So, you work with a lender to get a mortgage. You get into your new home and you receive notice that your mortgage company has broken up with you and you'll be sending your payments somewhere else. You deserve a partner who will be there with you every step of the way. At WECU, we service 100% of our loans. Plus, we're not for profit, so you can rest assured knowing that we'll always have your best interest at heart.